I'm Isyander.
And I'm Coda.
And today we're going to dive into the single most unlucky planet out there.
There are a lot of them in there. We're now touching the single most.
Yes. Yeah, Armageddon won by such a wide margin. And it's been the site for not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 important wars with casualties that can't be counted.
So you could describe them as Armageddons, right?
No, I'd say you could only describe about 2 of them as Armageddons. The rest, Battles is pretty accurate.
Why are we
for
still
the
there?
other
Why are
3.
we still there? Why are we still there? Why are we still there?
Battles is accurate for the other 3. 2 I would describe as proper Armageddons. I'll give you that. Why we're still there, we'll get to that later. It's been attacked by demons. It's been attacked by orcs. It's been declared unsavable by space marines. And despite all of that, the guards still clock in every single day and hold it down.
Just leave.
Dude, I'm so glad they won. I'm so glad they won.
Just
because
leave.
There are so many little things I've had to push aside because they're not fully relevant, and a lot of them tie to Armageddon, so I get to cover them all. It's gonna be so much fun.
Leave.
Well, okay, here's the thing about it, right? Like, yes, Armageddon has had Gaz, the single tallest orc currently alive, set foot on it. That's pretty bad. It's also had the Emperor, tallest human alive, set foot there. It's kind of pretty special. It's kind of pretty special. For now, though, before we get into why it's so special, you're down to 3 options. It's the Sautek Dynasty, it's the Tau Crisis suits, and the Worst Fates in Humanity. 2 of them are going to get made. One of them's going to disappear into the void forever. I didn't think that one through very far. You vote by sounding off in the comments.
Took you a lot of mental energy to get right.
Well, yeah, it took a lot of... Leave me be, okay? We also have a Patreon where you can get twice as many episodes. This week's was Katachan, and next week's will be the Steel Legion, probably. Slight spoilers on that. As well as a bunch of other episodes that have never seen the light of day. I'm talking Krieg, I'm talking Slaaneash's bedroom, and many, many, many more.
Slaaneash's bedroom specifically.
Yeah, we covered that. There's no way I can make it work here. There's no way.
Yeah.
Any bedroom with that many circles to it? No.
Well, it does. It's not that bad. It's fun. It's got a swing.
You also get access to the community. You also get access to the Discord community days, which are once a month stream, blooper reels, and many, many more features, all while helping us keep this show running and keep all these lights on. You can access all of that by heading on over to patreon.com/Isyander and Coda. For those of you already there, thank you very much. And for those of you doing it as I speak, thank you as well. Now, we are going to do this episode horrifically out of order.
What's new?
No, I've been trying to keep them mostly in order, but this one...
I do remember towards the start of this entire project, a lot of the episodes just being out of order.
Well, this one needs to be out of order because we need to start with today, a little bit before today. Then we're going to get to today, and then we're going to go to the past. And you'll see why. So a
flash forward, a flashback, a flash sideways, and a flash.
It's a flash sideways,
back
a flash
to the future.
Forward, and then a flash back.
Okay.
And it'll all make sense because today-ish, the planet is held by duct tape and faith. It is a battlefield constantly, and the loss of life on Armageddon is so egregious. The Imperium stopped counting.
It's a planet called Armageddon.
Yeah. I'm positive you can see the loss of life from the warp.
It's a planet called Armageddon.
Yeah. No, and to the Imperium, which I call them the Skaven of space. To say they have 1 million worlds is kind of an understatement if you look at how big the Milky Way is.
Maybe a couple billion. There's
so many. If you could throw a dartboard at the galaxy, and odds are they have at least 1 armored finger on that planet minimum, if not a full iron grip
there's
on it.
There's a single space marine taking refuge right there.
Or at least somewhere nearby and could be there. And so with all of that, typically the Imperium's procedure is to just write it off. Write it off, move on. We don't need this. It's called Armageddon. Blow it up, we'll move on. The problem with that is Armageddon is comically efficient.
What do you mean?
It's an aggressively industrial world that can rival Forge Worlds in output. And that's while it's fighting for its life, it can do this.
Damn.
On top of all of that, it is it seems to be in the middle of a lot of different things, and the Imperium cannot lose that choke point, if that makes sense. It seems to be in the middle of a demon highway, it seems to be in the middle of an orc highway, and the Imperium just doesn't want to know what happens if
those things can kind of just move about freely.
Exactly, and that's actually how the first war for Armageddon started, which is not the first war for Armageddon, it's the third war for Armageddon, and if you ask someone, it's the 0th war for Armageddon, because this is the forgettable one. Told you, it gets messy. There's a reason I'm doing it like this.
Kill me now.
What happened is, chaos cults just started popping up everywhere. Uprising after uprising after uprising.
As they do.
And Armageddon's a very, very, very competent planet. So as far as the Imperium is concerned, they're like, some governor probably told them eat cake or something. They've got that. They can handle it. And so they didn't really send reinforcements there, which, to be fair, they were handling it at the time. It was just chaos cults. Nothing new. They pop up really frequently. You just make them disappear.
We know what these guys are about. We know what they do. We can counter them.
We've done this routine before.
Yeah.
Problem is, the routine falls apart when the local priest starts crying black goo, and the whole sky darkens as a mass of wrecked ships just pops out of the warp called the Devourer of Stars.
The what?
Yes. And what's worse is there's a tiny red thing right in front of the Devourer of Stars that is now beelining it right for you, howling.
Angron.
As the Red Angel arrives.
Wow.
I need to...
I remember you've talked about this scene before.
Yes.
Instead of being on the ship, he is on standing on the tip of the ship screaming.
No, he's just in front of it.
Oh.
Because he can fly.
No, well.
Look at the wings. They're muscle
There's no
bound.
air in space to fly with.
He manages, is what matters.
He's propelled by pure spite.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know why aerospace engineers are not just using spite as fuel nowadays.
If only.
If only.
If only. For most people on the planet, this was just a Tuesday. Because whenever Chaos Cults happens, what you do is you just ignore it. You don't televise it. You just make the people disappear and you call it good. So as far as everyone was concerned, just Tuesday on Armageddon, everything's going perfectly normal. Sky is red. And now I am acutely aware of the fact that I'm living through a history textbook. It is unfortunate.
So they lived 2020.
Yeah. The ship immediately starts dropping every demon imaginable, minor and major, beastmen, world eaters, and then on top of all of that, Angron is in front of it, and immediately, the second he arrives, half of all guardsmen turn traitor.
Nice.
They just do not have... You must understand, the average guardsman is not... They're good. They're very cool. They cannot build up defenses to something they do not know exists.
Yeah.
And so when confronted with chaos... And not just chaos, but true, undeniable, like, there are demons, there are beastmen, there are space marines that are evil now, and that's one of the Emperor's kids. Howling at me now. Immediately, they're obviously going to turn traitor.
Yeah.
And this means that within a matter of days, they're beaten back to a few hive cities. It goes from, hey, this planet is settled, and we're making it work, to like 5 hive cities holding it down. Period.
Oh, it went through an Armageddon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thankfully, everybody took a quick commercial break to celebrate, erecting twisted monuments to Khorne all over the place, out of all the bodies that they'd taken. And
Core nests.
Yeah, pretty much. And Khorne is a very active god. He's the god of violence. And so seeing this, a warp storm just pops out in orbit and starts spitting more demons out.
So why not?
Because he loves this. He's here for it. Every moment of this is his joy and pride.
More blood for the bloodfalls.
Precisely. It's got to keep flowing somehow. I won't mince words. This is the first war. They're screwed. They're done. They're washed like a plate. They don't stand a chance at all.
Well, because just like you said, they're fighting an enemy they didn't know existed.
Mm-hmm. Thankfully, though, and one can only assume it's because of how loud all things Khorne tend to be, the Space Wolves arrived. And that, together with the guardsmen, actually means that they can hold ground against them for a little bit. And go
cool.
beyond even that, gaining a few inches when these Silver Space Marines arrive as well. And they all, like Xavier style, touch their forehead, teleport to the middle, and banish Angron.
I wonder who these guys are.
Yeah, I wonder who these guys are either. And so that's how the day is saved. That's how the first war shakes out. They do properly break one of Angron's swords, I think, and banish him, which turns the tide of the war.
Break one of his swords?
To give Angron credit, he killed like 100 Grey Knights. He did not go quietly into the night.
It is Angron.
Yes, but they did still manage it, and that did win them the day. However, everyone on Armageddon just saw a state secret A through G, and you are not allowed to see that. You're not allowed to see chaos. You're not allowed to see demons. You're definitely not allowed to see one of the Emperor's sons turned traitor and beating loyal Space Marines. And you're for sure never supposed to see the silver ones, because they Men in Black other Space Marines when you see them. Like they will mind wipe their fellow Space Marine because like, we don't exist.
We do not exist.
We do not exist. No one was allowed to survive this war, and due to orders from the nearby Inquisitor, everyone was either forcibly sterilized, sent to work camps to die, or dig a trench and then stand in front of it. Yeah. It is the grim darkness of the 41st millennium.
No, just don't talk about this. No, just that system is quarantined now. Everybody you're done. You're dead. You're gone.
To be a man in these times is to be among untold trillions.
We'll replace you.
Yeah. And you're living in the most brutal and cruel regime imaginable. They don't care. They don't care. It's a very unfeeling system. You've seen something you shouldn't. I'm sorry.
It's over.
What's a quote, I believe? Better a million innocent men die than one guilty get away.
Never heard that phrase, but very grim.
I believe that's how the Inquisition operates. It's better a whole planet dies. And to be fair, there is a finite number of planets, so this cannot keep going. But better we destroy a whole planet than one guy.
This is not sustainable.
Well, the problem with chaos is you could get away from it. You could be perfectly fine, and then like 3 kids down the line, Korn decides he likes that one. Now, chaos taint sticks with you for quite a while, and it doesn't show up for quite a while. Sure, sometimes it's spectacular. Other times
it's very subtle.
Other times it's subtle. You may just have a proclivity towards that, and then you'll meet other people and push them towards that, and then bam, cult arrives. So they do have some ground to stand on, but at the end of the day, these are regular people who did nothing wrong other than hold for their homes.
They just were there. Literally wrong place, wrong time.
Yep, they held against fear, they held against chaos, they held against the Emperor's own son, and the reward for it was punishment. Thankfully, the Space Wolves were there, and this is how we get into the whole Months of Shame thing, where it's Space Wolves versus Grey Knights versus the Inquisition. It's a whole 3
because I assume that Space Wolves did not take that sitting down.
Yeah, no, and they actually did help and get quite a few people out. There were still more that were killed than anything else, but still, they did manage to help. That is not the important part. The important part of this war is the fact that is the least remarkable war that's going to happen there. That's the forgettable one, the footnote.
Why haven't we just left this planet?
Because most people don't even know about this one because Inquisitional meddling, and they only think there are 2 wars up for Armageddon. So technically, the next war is the one that people call the first war for Armageddon.
Okay.
And then there's the second war for Armageddon, and they're still wrong because there's 5 wars for Armageddon.
This is very complex.
It is. But when something is censored this aggressively, it is what it is. The second one is the best known one. This one is known. It's the second war for Armageddon. In canon, it's the first war for Armageddon, and in reality, it's the third one. So I hope you have your pens and pencils to keep track of this.
Get a notepad. Yes. We should have prepared them at the beginning.
Right, we should have. I'm sorry. But this one can best be described by this piece of art.
That piece of art? Oh, no.
Where you have Gaz, single largest orc alive.
Oh, no.
Being looked in the eye by a man. And he's holding... Look, there's no cowardice to be seen there.
Well, aren't those the guardsmen that specialize in dealing with orcs right there?
Hell yeah. That's
I
damn
guess
straight.
they got the right men for the job.
Yeah, or the men became the right men for the job because this is Armageddon.
Oh, this is when they got made.
This is when they really started to shine more.
I see.
Yeah, but that is a man facing something that would give a Primarch trouble, and just do this. Is why I love the Guard.
Just
this is why
holding
I love the Guard, because most people would be going in the opposite direction. Look at that thing.
They're all facing towards the guards
They are
or towards
all
the orcs.
either reloading or shooting at them with no breaks. And I love this so much. This one begins with all the orcs arriving en masse with Gaz at the front. This isn't
Because of course Gaz would be at the front.
Look, orcs are simple. This is normal. Just happens. Thousands of them arrive, you beat them off, you move on. That's just how it works. The problem with this one is it had an energy to it, for lack of a better term.
An energy?
Yes, because typically, again, the orcs invade, you deal with it, there's usually a lot of them, and that's kind of a permanent problem in the ecosystem, but that's fine, This one had, there's these things, I think we've covered them, but super duper in passing, called the Emperor's Tarot cards, which is it's a deck of tarot cards, effectively, and they're like glass with crystals and liquid inside them.
I think we've talked about
them because the Emperor used them during the heresy to try and see the future.
We've talked about them.
They're all. What matters is they're all tied to Big E de facto and are accurate reads of the future, right? These things are so accurate that when heresy wanted to Horus, when Horus wanted to do the whole heresy routine, he built his own Yu-Gi-Oh deck to go against dads. Yeah, they're that consistent.
It's time to do.
Yeah, and all of them, before the orcs arrived, turned to like death, desolation, and destitution. All at once. Yeah, and the governor, at this point, should have freaked out and called for help, because they don't do that frequently. Usually it's like a war incoming, and it's like, okay.
Well, yeah, of course.
Duh, but
it's in the name.
Those three, yeah, you'd be calling for help.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this governor is incompetent.
As they are.
No, this one's like almost maliciously incompetent.
Okay, to be fair, the only experience I have with planetary governors is Poor Stooge, so...
This is the guy I loosely based him off of. He's so inept.
This is Poor Stooge?
Yes. He minimizes the orcs.
This is Poor Stooge Senior.
Yeah, you can see the orcs coming down, and he minimizes it up until the very end when they make planetfall. And once they do that, there is a green storm that makes traveling in and out of the planet far more difficult and getting signals for help almost impossible. And this whole time, by the way, the governor's saying, don't call for help, we've got this. And the only reason Armageddon still stands is because of a guy named Yarrick, who disobeyed orders and sent out a distress signal. I've told you, we've driven past this planet like 100 times. I get to touch on everything I've left out. Yeah, Sebastian Yarrick.
How do you look at orcs? Look at an orc right now.
Yeah.
How do you look at that and go, oh, it's not that bad. We'll deal with it.
Because he thought he could. He thought he could. They're simple brutes. They're going to run at me. I will shoot them. Moving on.
No.
And for his traitorous actions, Sebastian Yarrick was sent to a hive city that's super duper relevant, will never come up again, called Hive Hades. It is, by the way, everything in Armageddon shares in its unfortunate naming. I mean, there's Hive Hades, Angron charges across the river Styx, there's Hive Tartarus, there's Hell's Reach, there's Diabolus, there's Infernus. And all of this is on a planet where the final battle is said to commence in the Bible. Like, GW is aggressive at times.
How many more ways can you call this planet hell before we just leave the planet?
Well, they can't leave now. The orcs are here. And the guy in charge does not get better. He just keeps screwing up. He sends civilians to charge forward at orc battle lines. He uses the guardsmen he has, who are more for slow armored defense, for aggressive offense, And at every single turn, he keeps feeding the Orks a good fight, which is precisely what they like.
And then they get stronger for that.
Yep. The only reason everything has not gone completely belly up is Yarrick is still in the background, disobeying orders, getting in the way of orders, just to send out competent ones. Because these ones are completely inept.
Just let's keep doing dozens of pickets charges at the Orks with civilians.
And this guy's just retreating from Fallen Hive City to Fallen Hive City to Fallen Hive City, completely unable to do anything and refusing to change. Armies are wiped out because of his incompetence. And the Orks are actively stronger. It's so bad at its worst that Hive Cities just start surrendering. Like, he arrives, nope, we're done. We're done.
Over.
So, move on to the next one.
Your reputation precedes you. Prepare the white flag.
Yes. Until one of the few that are left are Hive Hades, which is led by Yarrick, who at the height of this seems to be everywhere all at once. Some people say he didn't sleep. He was there. It was a really rough time. The only reason people still speak about Hive Hades is because it's usually to talk about how cool Yarrick is, effectively, because nobody wants to remember it. They had to eat roaches and rats at some point because the corpse starch factory had to start churning out bullets and keep churning out bullets because that's the only way we win. Yarrick was constantly beating the Orks in every... Listen, this wasn't Gaz using superior force to beat the Orks. He was outsmarting them at every single turn and frustrated them to the point that Gaz had to pray to the Ork gods for guidance.
Yarrick got him praying?
Yes. The Orks had to start thinking around Yarrick.
They had to grow brains?
They tried to use paratroopers to get in. That didn't work. Yarrick was waiting. They used stealth commandos. They didn't just run at Hive Hades because it didn't work. Yarrick was constantly prepared for anything and everything. Oh, and by the way, the whole time, that god-awful governor's in the background interfering with everything Yarrick's doing. Constantly sending out different orders, sending regiments of his own men to their death because they didn't like them. And even finally, when Space Marines do arrive, he tries to send them away, saying, we've got this under control, it's fine.
Obviously not.
That is precisely what the Space Marines say. They put him on house arrest, which he escapes and rides off into the sunset. And
so this idiot governor doesn't even get... Poor Stooge Sr. does not get...
No, he gets away with it. All his titles are stripped away, but he gets away with it.
Maybe it was just Poor Stooge and not Poor Stooge Sr.
Who knows? After the Space Marines arrive, though, that's how the war pretty much ends, because Yarrick's brilliance paired with Space Marines is more than the Orks can handle at this point. And Gaz has spent far too much time and far too many resources to break one hive, so he just has to leave. The Orks have to surrender to a guy.
To beat the Orks in attrition warfare.
Yep. And that is how the first...
Insanity.
That's how the first, second, fourth war for Armageddon went. And now it's time for the third, second, fifth war for Armageddon, which is a doozy. Because there is no better way to describe this one than to just list the groups locked in this fight.
Okay.
The belligerents are... the Orks, Armageddon's nobility, the 13th Penal Legion, Slaaneash's Legions of Excess, the Sisters of Battle, the Collegia Titanica, the Relictors, the Plague Legions of Nurgle, the Inquisition, the Black Templars, the Salamanders, the Dark Mechanicum, the Blood Legions of Khorne, the World Eaters, the Scintillating Legions of Tzeentch, the Necrons, the Angels of Fire, the Angels of Redemption, the Angels of Vigilance, the Black Dragons, the Blood Angels, the Celebrants, the Celestial Lions, the Exorcists, the Fire Angels, the Flesh Terrors, the Iron Champions, the Marines Malevolent, the Mortifactors, the Omega Marines, the Raptors, the Silver Skulls, the Sons of Guilliman, the Space Wolves, the Storm Giants, the Storm Lords, the White Scars, The Asgardian Rangers, Cadian Shock Troops, Catachan Jungle Fighters, the Death Corps of Krieg, the Elysian Drop Troops, Jopel's Indentured Squadrons, the Ogren Auxilia, the Minervan Tank Legions, Mongolor Ogren Auxilia, the Mordian Iron Guard, Noctin Strike Forces, Okanan Phalanx Troops, the Pyran Dragoons, the Sevlar Chem Dogs, the Sevlar Chem Riders, the Semtexian Bombardiers, the Stormtroopers, the Zovan Skirmishers, the Officio Assassinorum, the Officio Sabatorum, the Ordo Xenos, the Imperial Navy, Traitor Titan Legions, as well as various mutants, chaos cults, and every orc warlord imaginable. All here. And if I listed them all, there'd be like 100 more entries. It is the single, no, it is one of, if not the single largest land battle in Imperial history.
Why is literally everyone here?
Everyone is here. You have got it in one.
Why is literally everyone here?
Because it's still raging to this day.
Everyone save like the Necrons are here.
Nope, they were in the list.
Were they?
Yep. They're present.
Holy. Why?
Well,
Why?
it started because Gaz wanted round 2 because he was properly chafed about losing.
It
the
is
human.
Gaz.
Yeah, and obviously the Imperium says that one's coming back. Who's the one guy who's beaten him? So Yarrick has to come back.
Send Yarrick back.
Yeah, and at this point, Gaz's reputation has grown so large that he's serving as a beacon for other orcs. So as he's approaching Armageddon, more fleets keep joining him. More and more and more. And by the time they arrive, an entire Imperial battle fleet is outnumbered 6-1.
6-1?
Yes. Yeah.
Ooh, it's not good.
And everyone is immediately on the back foot. The orcs arrive, and it's not the typical wah in a straight line. They have formations and tactics.
They're evolving.
They're supplied by the inventions of Orchimedes, the inventor of the orc teleporter.
Orchimedes?
Orchimedes, inventor of the orc teleporter. Yeah.
Orchimedes.
And this
I found my new favorite character in 40K.
he's so great. Oh, he's so great. And because of Orchimedes and the teleporter, they have the ability to make... Okay, I don't think you understand how bad things are for Armageddon. They see the orcs hucking rocks at them and assume, yes, boulders from space. This is normal. We can redirect them with shields. And then all of them stack up into a pillar correctly, and then orcs start leaving it like a teleporter. Yeah. They're that. The orcs have supply lines so competent, Gilliman would be salivating. The orcs have competent supply lines right now.
Who's running them? It's not the orcs.
No, it's Gaz.
Who took Gaz's head?
Nope, this is still Gaz, and on top of all of this, with these complex orcs arriving, feral orcs from the second war, first, whichever one, are now popping out of the woodwork, because once you kill orcs on a planet, they're a permanent infestation.
They're mushrooms.
Yeah, so now they just keep coming out of everywhere and joining in with either Gaz or just causing chaos everywhere they go. And then on top of all of that, hive nobility is turning over entire cities to the orcs. Because as it turns out, that horrifically incompetent governor joined up with Gaz under an agreement that he would get to rule Armageddon after Gaz won. And he's just convincing nobility to join him.
Got this guy's an idiot. Gaz is...
Yep. On top of all of this, the violence happening on the ground causes... Remember those massive gore nests that they were building?
Yeah.
They were never cleaned up. And so all of them just start humming in the jungle. His corn is now looking probably directly at this planet.
Why did nobody clean them up?
Oh, and on top of all of that, there are renegade space marines just running around on the surface, grabbing artifacts Angron left behind. Definitely normal, don't question it, citizen.
Yep.
In space, the Black Templars are fighting tooth and nail to keep things in order. On the ground, Yarrick is taking full command of Space Marines even. That's how good at this he is. Even Space Marines defer to his knowledge. And it does help because, Yarrick was able to hold against Gaz with nothing. And now Yarrick has quite a bit. And thankfully, this assault on Armageddon is so spectacular, everyone's looking. So he has far more resources. He's actually able to stunt Gaz. Gaz, despite everything I've mentioned so far, cannot get permanent ground on Yarrick.
Impressive, honestly.
And this takes so long that the Orc gods get frustrated and send him a message to just leave. Of course, it's delivered in the most orcish way possible, a tank round through the chest. But hey,
it used to be like a rock with a message inscribed on it thrown through your window, or maybe a brick with a note.
Tank round.
Now it's a tank round.
Yep, and again, just for those of you in the back, let me repeat that. An orc left a fight on orders from an orc god because it wasn't worth it to beat one guy.
The orc god said, "No, you don't got this."
That is how good Yarrick and the wider people of Armageddon are at this point. His escape is almost thwarted because Yarrick hears this and he's like, we can't let him leave. He's going to come back for another war. But the orc gods do directly interfere.
Because of course they do.
And get Gaz out of there. Damage has already been done though. The planet itself is now a beacon for orcs near and far, with basically a massive ad playing in every orc's head saying, you want a good fight? Come to Armageddon. And so they just keep pouring in for what they think is the beginnings of the Ragnarok. Or the big scrap, as they call it.
I like it. I like the big scrap.
Isn't that so nice? And so that's what Armageddon is currently tied up doing. And then they get hit by a blood crusade.
Because of course they do.
Yep, because they were right in the way of it, and those pillars were humming. I will give you no points for guessing who started that one. But at this point, this is a point where the death toll gets so obscene, the Imperium stops counting. They just know that something is going on here. And
it's not good.
We cannot lose this. And on top of all of that, on top of a blood crusade,
there's
on top
more?
of the orcs, on top of the renegade space marines running around, the Imperium has its little Humpty Dumpty moment where it breaks in half, and the light of the Emperor just turns out. Full stop. All the lights turn out.
So I can figure out which side of the Great Rift this planet is on.
Doesn't matter what side doesn't matter what side it's on. What matters is no reinforcements can arrive, and demons just keep on appearing.
Because of course they do.
And it's not just Khornate ones. Tzeentch starts arriving, Slaanesh starts arriving, and it leads to this fun, weird situation where orcs are fighting with guardsmen to beat Khornate demons. Or Khornate demons are working with other demons to beat... Like, it's such an all-out brawl at this point. By the time the lights turn back on, half the planet looks like a demon world.
Nice.
And the whole thing is shuddering and shaking at random.
Because, of course it is.
The piles of bodies that Angron left heaped are just humming louder and louder with each passing day, and the planet itself is getting this close to dealing with Kessler syndrome, as all the debris from the space fights is making it almost impossible to get on and off the planet.
Why are we still here?
On top of all of that, there are pyramids hidden in the jungle that are now glowing with greed energy.
Oh, they are here.
And any Necrons who get near it leave lobotomized messes that can only mutter about the shiny boys.
The what?
The shiny boys with a Z.
Oh, you mean the orcs? Any orcs that go near, not Necrons?
Oh, did I say Necrons?
Yeah, you said
Whoops.
Necrons.
Any orcs that walk nearby will immediately just come back muttering about shiny boys.
I was gonna say, aren't the Necrons already lobotomized, pretty much?
I mean, yeah, pretty much. Well, it's more like a soulless drone.
What
matters is, apparently it's a tomb world too.
Because why not?
Because why not?
Because why not?
It's still day in and day out. Guardsmen across the entire planet are holding the line, not winning, somehow not losing.
Just leave.
It's the single most...
It can't be that efficient anymore.
Well, here's the counterpoint to leaving, right? Why is everyone so focused on this planet? What happens if we leave it?
What's special about this planet?
Exactly. And that's why they never leave.
Yeah.
It is quite literally the most unlucky point in all of space-time. And back, way back in the 2000s, they actually did like a fun little war game. Like...
like a mini game?
No, fully meta. The reason Armageddon is such a mess is because of this. They had this whole like the war for Armageddon online event, and because it's the war for Armageddon, everyone had to be there, and so it was actually really cool. It took a lot of the Wayback Machine. It took a lot of the Wayback Machine to dig this up, and a lot of it's falling into rapid disrepair because it's the 2000s.
Yeah.
But it's still really cool. I love it when GW does stuff like that. But that is. Out of canon, that is precisely why Armageddon is such a mess.
Because
you had to be able to play any faction for it to be relevant. So that's
a canonized online minigame.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty cool, honestly.
Yeah,
I like that.
I quite like that. That does bring us to why this planet is so special in canon.
Yes, please tell me. I would love to know why we don't just leave.
And this one, this one's a little bit of a retcon. But I'm fine with it because it works to give this planet just even worse luck, frankly. You have to go before the heresy.
Before?
Yes, because this planet was not always known as Armageddon. It used to be known as Ullanor, the heart of the single largest Ork empire, where Horus, inventor of the heresy, accomplished something that would have given Big E trouble and crushed the whole empire, showing off how good he was at this whole war thing. Yeah.
This explains a lot.
Yep. This was so impressive to the Emperor that he flattened a continent to lay down a perfect, mirror-smooth path for a parade in honor of Horus. The whole thing lined with orc skulls, with the route ending in this massive citadel that had damn near anyone important to the Imperium present. 8 million guardsmen, hundreds of titans, thousands of armored vehicles, 14 full legions, and enough Imperial aircraft to darken the sky were in this parade.
I'm beginning to some dots are beginning to connect.
And the reason I'm going into this parade in such detail is because it is right here and then that once the procession finally makes it, the Emperor shocks everyone and declares Horus in charge of the whole War Department thing. This is when he becomes Warmaster, and on top of all of that, this is when the Emperor retires.
Retire?
Yeah, he retires from the whole... Horus is good at this.
Oh,
he did something
he just goes to work on his own projects.
Yeah, exactly. The Emperor's exact logic in this moment is this would have taken my full undivided effort, and Horus did it.
So
the Great Crusade's in good hands.
This is his thing now.
Any orders from him effectively come from me. I'm gonna go golf now.
So this is a key moment in history.
And that's where we get this image.
Aha.
The one image with all the Primarchs
and all of the...
And you can see the parade.
The big army in the background?
Yep. That's the Triumph of Ullanor.
I can also see why the Orks just keep coming back.
Yep. On top of all of that, because that's not enough, this is the planet.
There's more?
Yes. During the heresy, that same parade would be mocked and twisted when half the brothers fell to chaos and performed a dark recreation of this parade where once they reached the very end, they sacrificed 1/10 of their fleet to their chaos gods so that they could fast travel to Earth.
I see.
And that's how important Armageddon is. It is so historically significant. It's also where the War of the Beast came to its climax, because the single largest orc in recorded history, started a war so massive that the Orks were building competent Death Stars with gravity whips. That's not a joke, by the way. The things would laugh at you. They had his face on them, and they just mock you. The Orks became so smart, they had command over the English language and would issue ultimatums. And on top of all of that, they'd be wearing Space Marine power armor. And this is when they cracked teleportation.
They would what?
Yeah.
They figured out the power armor?
Well, that Horus guy beat us with it before.
Oh.
They didn't create their own. It was partly like a status symbol thing. Look, I killed a Marine. But also, they figured out how to fit in it. And Orks don't do that now.
Yeah, because that's the task, is putting them, like, getting themselves into it.
And modifying it so it would work with their own armor. But
and I assume just like the weapons, it's like genetically coded too, so figuring that bullshit out.
It's a whole thing. It is a whole thing. So when Orks are whipped into a frenzy, they can eclipse what the Mechanicum can do. And they regularly do this. And so this is where the War of the Beast, this is kind of the main point of the War of the Beast, the center of his empire. I'm not going to get into that because it's a whole
thing.
Every single thing, the Triumph of Ullanor, the War of the Beast, the First War for Armageddon, the Second War for Armageddon, the Third War for Armageddon, the total of 5 wars for Armageddon could each be their own episode. I am cutting out so much. I'm cutting out so much to make this work.
Everybody was here.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably 2 episodes.
Oh no! Each one could be its own episode. All of them matter, and I just have to compress them. But do you see how much stuff I have to drive by occasionally?
Yeah.
Because I can't mention that now. But yeah, the Orks can eclipse the Mechanicum, and that's the only reason the planet still exists. Because a member of the Mechanicus wanted to figure out how they did this and wanted to reverse engineer it before they could blow up the planet. So he used the Ork teleporter to move the planet somewhere else. Nobody knows where that planet wound up. We have no idea.
So
it's definitely not Armageddon, I promise you. Ullanor definitely just isn't Armageddon.
I see.
And now do you see why? Now do you see why, A, it's so unlucky, B, you don't want to leave it? Because that planet has something going on.
The ancestral home of the Ork Empire, trodden upon, then used for a chaos ritual.
To teleport them right to the Emperor's backyard.
After which a Mechanicus,
after which a second Ork Empire happened.
After which a second Ork Empire happened that got really efficient, that got the Mechanicus interested.
I almost forgot they created Primarchs. They created Primarchs. Oh, I love the Orks so much. Yeah, during the War of the Beast.
Which got the Mechanicus interested, which got the planet teleported somewhere else, where it definitely is Armageddon, where it was then used as a big manufacturing world right in the middle of the highway between, would you say, Chaos and the Orks?
Well, the Orks are just coming home. That's why they arrived for the First War for Armageddon.
No.
Sorry, it was Chaos. It was the First War for Armageddon. Second one was the Orks.
This planet, dude.
Yeah. It's so... Oh, and you forgot. Before all of that, it's a tomb world.
Oh, and it's also a tomb world.
Because there's Necrons asleep on it.
Because why not?
Yeah.
What involvement do the Eldar have in here?
None, as far as I could tell. They kind of didn't care about them.
They're the one faction that don't care about this planet.
Yeah, I mean, I listed every belligerent, and the Eldar weren't there. So, I mean, to be fair, the Eldar could easily be added from a "why do you all care about it" perspective.
The Harlequins there to document everything for the Black Library.
Maybe, who knows? But that is why Armageddon is just so unfortunate. What do you think of the planet?
I don't know. Because on one hand, just leave.
Yeah.
Just leave. But on the other hand, what happens if we just leave?
Last time we left it to the Orks, the Beast happened. Time before that, Budget Beast happened. Time after that, they used it to get to Earth.
Time before that, the Necrons probably had a
Yeah.
Some home dynasty on there.
So what do you do? Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention the ambient temp here is 140.
Awful.
Yeah. So it's not even like that pleasant of a place to be. Hey, at least it's got slightly lower gravity than Earth, so you could jump a little higher.
Woohoo!
It's pretty cool. It's
wow.
pretty neat. But other than that, yeah, it sucks on Armageddon.
Why would you?
I can only help but respect the people who make it work on Armageddon. And it does do a really good job of showing the resilience of the Guard. Because genuinely, a couple of Space Marine chapters have just gone, I'm good.
But then you have Yarrick over there screaming and going, I've got this. And then he actually does have this.
Genuinely, there's an argument to be made that if Yarrick was not present, Gaz would have won the second war for Armageddon.
Yeah. Which would not have been not good.
Not good. I don't know what's going to happen if he takes that planet. But, moral of the story is...
rebuild the ancestral empire of the Orks.
Probably. Have them
maybe re-become the Krorks.
Probably. It's probably what's next on his agenda. He keeps getting taller.
I wonder if that's where they're taking the story.
Well, he's not beast height yet. And I know. 40K. The thing about orcs and height is genuinely you can power scale them based on their height. The taller they are, the more scary it gets. He's not quite as tall as the beast. The beast was mortifying. He was basically a Krork running around. So he's got to go down to like, what country is it? Like Bolivia to get his shins broken and stretched so that he gets taller. Then he become more powerful, but until then. What?
You think he's going to get the intolening surgery?
For an orc, it'd be nothing but pros. Nothing but pros.
He'd still need to get bulked up though.
Orcs have never had a problem with that.
Oh, I was gonna say he needs to go to Brazil to get a BBL, not that kind of BBL, a Brazilian bulk lift.
And that does bring an end to this episode. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for being you.